Hi and welcome to How to Use CAD. For today's tutorial we're going to take a look at one of our elevation projects in Kensington in London. The client wished to replace 7 windows, and for that we had to create existing and proposed layout and elevation plans for the entire property. Take a look and see what was involved. Looking at this particular project, you can tell straight away it's these are huge buildings. So I think there was about seven flats on this particular property, because you got a basement level as well. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flats. So the building, this particular building, starts here, and of course goes around the corner then to this side, which is down here. So it's absolutely amazing property, and I guess it's about 300 years old. It's listed in a conservation area. There's not much you can do here except tread very carefully when it comes to doing anything with planning. So the client wished to change these 2 windows. On that particular side they wished to change this 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 7 windows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a little window around the corner here again. So in order to do that, the planners insist, this is Kensington and Chelsea, they insist on elevation plans for the entire building. So if you just want to change 1 window here, and when I say change, it's not like you're putting in double glazing or UPVC, and it wouldn't be allowed to do that. To change it from single glazing to double glazing, but basically doing exactly the same like-for-like sash window, timber sash window, you need a planning application, and you also need to submit profiles of the new windows, etc., etc., so that they can approve. So again, when it comes to doing elevations for a project like this, you can go down there, you can take all the photographs you want, but when it comes to measuring, you're not going to get into 6 different apartments and start measuring the floor to ceiling. So what's in fact is much simpler is that using high resolution photographs, which we had for the project, we can actually measure it up using the bricks. So the bricks are ideal, and with the bricks we're able to create plans. So as an example now, so this is the elevation plans we created for the building. So this is one side and that's the other, and because there's a window tucked into this projection, we had to put it in here. So we ended up doing 3 elevations for this particular project. Now when it comes to doing, let's just have a little look here. So when we bring it up, you can see it's quite detailed, and of course you've got your brickwork. We did the brickwork on it, didn't do anything with the stonework, and of course the top, it doesn't have to be perfectly the same, or it doesn't have to be dental work and so on, but you give the appearance of coving and cornicing and so on. You get the proportions reasonably accurate, but again, these are gorgeous. If we just overlay a photograph right next to that, let me just move this for a minute. That's the layout. Just move it down. There you go. You can starting to see the relationship, the windows and the cornicing and the stonework. There's a big old chimney at the top. But again, it's an impressive building with the little balcony at the front here all the way around. These are big, long, tall French doors with spinelletta bolts. Love the ornamental features over the doors here. Again, a little bit different, and then it starts to get plainer as you get to the top. But I tell you, these must have been fantastic to create this back in 200 or 300 years ago with pencil and paper. So you know, I have so much admiration for the buildings that they built back then. The style, absolutely gorgeous. And the ornate railings, the bays, the stucco blockwork, the ornamental stuff here. And the Ionic, is it Doric columns we've got here, bit dental, the balustrades, absolutely gorgeous. And it was a pleasure to recreate. It was time consuming, but it was an absolute pleasure to recreate this as an elevation. But it just seemed like a heck of a lot of work to have to do to be able to get a planning application done with Kensington. And of course, this is the norm. This is becoming the norm now, certainly in the better parts of London, where you need to change a window or just make a few minor alterations, assuming you're allowed. You have to submit planning applications. So I think this particular elevation took about a day, and this one maybe a touch more. So perhaps about 3 days in total to do these elevations, because there is a lot of detail in there. And don't forget, you're working from photographs and you're measuring from photographs, so a lot of calculations being done at the same time. Now what was interesting was that we did the elevations first, and then we went in and did the layouts. It was just the way it was. There was nobody in the flat for a while, so we couldn't get access. But what was interesting was that when we actually got inside and did the layouts for this particular building, here's your windows now again, the ones that got replaced. And I'm not surprised they got replaced. This is a kitchen in here, and this would have been freezing in the winter. And when you consider that, and this particular apartment, what is it? It's a 2-bedroom apartment. This particular apartment would have probably be maybe £3 million, close to, given the location and where it is, given the location and the size and so on. It's a prestigious postcode, so I wouldn't think it'd have much change from 3 million. I could be wrong, could be 5, but that's the kind of money you're talking about. But when you consider then that they've got a kitchen here, and the client told me, she said absolutely freezing in winter because the single glazing on the windows here. So she says every time you come in, absolutely freezing. And the rest of the house isn't so bad, but it's the idea that you've got this property you paid 3 million or so for, and you're absolutely freezing because you can't sit down in the kitchen. And I just find it amusing. But it's something to reflect that even though these houses look absolutely fantastic from the outside, they're not always the most comfortable to live within. That I learned quite a while ago. Same here, you see, this is the reception. Looks fantastic, but you've got all this single glazing here. So again, you can hang the big heavy curtains, I suppose, and that'll keep you a bit warm in winter, but not the easiest places to stay warm in. Right, so that was the layout, but what I was almost forgotten, what I was trying to say was that when we did the layouts and we got the actual measurements, they tied up, 95-96% accuracy as against the external elevations measured from the brickwork. It needed very little tweaking to get it right, just to fine tune it. But it's a fantastic project. So what we do then to emphasize the difference, this is what we call existing elevation, and this is the proposal. So we're looking at a proposed elevation sent in, and for that what we do is we highlight, we choose a decent color, and then we put a few bits and pieces in to let the planners know exactly what's happening. And they'll love this, and if you do your job right and you take your time and do it, and give all the information to enable the planners to make a decision on it. It's a sure thing. It goes through first thing. There's no going back and forth on it. There's no, can we have this, can we have that? So elderly client, pleasure to do the building, pleasure to do it. And of course it's a great learning curve for young designers to be able to learn how to recreate drawings of this nature from photographs. and of course they're getting paid for it, so it's an absolute pleasure. Yeah. It's a very enjoyable project. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about it, and hopefully you'll get to do some prestigious buildings like this at some point in the near future, because you'll certainly take your breath away, I suppose, because this is as good as it gets when it comes to designing or redesigning the period elevations, which have huge amounts of character. Yeah. Okay, hopefully you learned something from the video. Hopefully you've got a bit of value from it. I would imagine you're keen to get your CAD package out and start applying it. Incidentally, the blues, and if you look, I'll give you an example. So all we do is pop these in afterwards. Yeah, they're so we design everything and then pop the glazing in afterwards. It's not rocket science. Yeah, the simplest thing here would be to just reverse what I've done to get it accurately back in place. Yeah. So you also need to learn how to make sash windows. So yeah, keep an eye out on our videos. You might get a video shortly or within the near future on creating sash windows. These are box sash windows, and we know a thing about that, how to create them. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for sharing, or thanks for spending some time watching our video, and see you on the next video.